Who remembers those bracelets that said WWJD? Show of hands. Yeah. Oh, many of you. Great. What would Jesus do? What would Jesus do? The bracelet and the acronym were designed to have us put ourselves in Jesus's shoes as a form of guidance. So that got me thinking, we can actively practice that same thing in our own way, no matter our faith or what we identify with religiously, philosophically, but standing in that question of what would my higher self do? How would my higher self show up? So in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the WWHSD. Yeah. What would higher self do? Powerful questions get powerful answers. Responses respond at the level of the inquiry. So low quality questions get low quality responses and low quality reflections. High level questions, high quality, insightful, penetrating, relevant, worthwhile self-inquiry results in high quality reflections, high quality responses from deeper within yourself. When you ask yourself a powerful question, you can think of it like you're knocking on the door of that deeper part of you that is that inner intelligence that already knows, that innermost truth, that deeper part of who you are is stimulated. Thank you, helicopter. Is stimulated when you stir the pot, when you ask the question, when you stimulate the field, you receive responses that are a reflection of the quality of the question. So when you sit in that question, what would higher self do? That's a powerful question. You're establishing the standard of self-inquiry such that the response is going to be very fruitful. So what would Jesus do? In this case, think of your higher self perhaps as Jesus, a more enlightened version of yourself. And what's interesting is that each of us intuitively have a sense of what our higher self looks like and acts like, and perhaps most importantly, feels like. If you just take a moment right now, do this with me, close your eyes for a moment and just begin to feel into your own higher self. And you immediately start to experience those feelings, that energy, as you do that. So what comes up for you when you do that? So it's interesting, each of us has that sense of the person that we're becoming. Some quantum physicists and many ancient gurus and philosophers propose that all of time, if you look at time linearly, all of time actually collapses down to a singularity. So think of this like a vertical cone. At the top, you have the most linear, sequential experience or perception of time. And as you move towards the subtle, time and space begin to collapse on themselves, and we move towards a singularity, the core tip of the tip of the tip of the cosmic iceberg. And that is the source of matter. It's that singular point that rose out of nothingness from which all form and phenomena came. That's for a different video, perhaps. So, as we go about our lives, I'd like you to consider that you reach forks in your evolutionary road. You come to these impasses where you can clearly choose to repeat the known. You can default into what's known, what's familiar, what's comfortable, So oftentimes there's a repetitious theme to that repetition of the unknown, safe, familiar, comfortable. Or there's an invitation, there's an opportunity to stretch beyond what is known into the unknown, to leave who you've known yourself to be behind, to transcend your current self in service of the person that you could become. So when you take an action or make a choice or think a thought that is a reflection of the person you're becoming, that's transformation. So we can choose, think, act, and speak from historical influences from our past, or we can consciously design our future now. The future is in the making, in the present. So one of the most powerful ways to accelerate our evolution, to close the gap between the person that we are and the person we sense we're becoming, is to stand in this powerful question: what would higher self do? So you're living your life and you'll come to this fork in the road. I can default into what's familiar. Hold up. First, ask yourself the question, all right, what would higher self do here? And what's interesting is, instead of it being like this intellectual display or experience where you're like, oh, what is my higher, in my experience, it oftentimes comes intuitively. And it's usually in the direction of more courage, more love, more confidence, more awareness, more responsibility. It doesn't always have to be action-oriented. It could be more patience. It could be more beingness. It could be more surrender and letting go. Nonetheless, what stimulates the knowledge from within you is standing in that space of asking yourself the question, WWHSD. So it could be, what would higher self do? It could also be, what would higher self be? Who would my higher self be in this moment? Perhaps it's a challenging moment. Perhaps you're in your day-to-day and you begin to question the ways in which you're spending your time on a daily basis. How would higher self spend his or her morning? Stand in those powerful questions and see what comes up for you. What I'd like to add to this conversation is, our structures set us up to win. Our daily practices are the foundation for the results that we want to create in our lives. What I found to be really powerful and what I recommend is that for a few minutes each morning, you bask in the visioning and the feeling sensations of your higher self. Feel into what your higher self looks like, what he or she does. Imagine certain interactions. Imagine how you are with other people. Imagine how you show up, and feel into that. So don't just make it an intellectual exercise, make it a visceral exercise so you're actually feeling into your own higher self. Feel that vibrational attitude, the emotional signature that's emanating from your higher self, pinging back to you from the future right now, reminding you and inspiring you to wake up, close the gap, pay more attention to me and less attention to who you've been. Our past is tempting. It wants us to pay attention to it. What could have been? What should have been? How did I show up? What did they think of me? Focusing on all of those things is so much less relevant than shifting our attention to the person we're becoming. And all of that imagining and visioning into the future and feeling into the future, all of that is occurring right now in this present moment. So you're literally activating the consciousness and the emotionality and the way of thinking of your future self. Where attention goes, energy flows. So as you start to send your consciousness, what Sanskrit calls the flow of consciousness, which is soma, SOMA. As you start to invest your soma into the way in which your future self would think, speak, or act right now or in a particular situation, you begin to activate that reality, thus accelerating your evolution, thus embodying what you're destined to be already right now. Have some fun with it. Let me know how this goes for you. WWHSD, you got this. Take care of what you're tending to. Be conscious of where you're placing your attention, and magic will unfold for you. You are a creator. You were born a creator. You're free. You're capable. And you're oh so worthy. And I'll see you soon. Namaste.